Yes, what an epic performance last night from the New South Wales Blues. Do or die, must-win game under all sorts of pressure, and boy, did they deliver. 44 points to 12 at Optus Stadium. Let's bring the journos in, Buzz Rothfield and James Hooper. What a performance it was last night from the Blues.
Outstanding, BA, you called it. They put on a clinic and now we're headed to Suncorp for a decider. How good?
Mate, as comprehensive as it gets, on the back of the 12-man controversy just for half-time, but take nothing away, New South Wales, just outstanding.
Yeah, we'll talk a bit more about that now, but we're lucky to get, and let's cross to Blues Chief Advisor Greg Alexander. Now, Brandy, an epic performance last night. As I just said then, you were under a heap of pressure. The coaching staff, the team, after that Game 1 performance here in Sydney, but last night, you must have been proud of the performance from the players.
Yeah, outstanding, Braith. I thought that the preparation for Game 2 was very good, and we identified a number of things that New South Wales, the boys, had to do better in Game 2, things that let us down in Game 1, which saw us play off the back foot for most of that game, made it very difficult for our halves, never getting the ball going forward. And I think those things that we fixed up saw us score the points we did.
Brandy, 7 changes for Game 2. Do you feel vindicated?
Yeah, well, I guess so, Kenty. You know, I didn't feel like there was plenty of chat about, panic inside the New South Wales camp. That has never been the case. The 5 years that I've been involved in Origin and working with Freddie, there has never been any panic inside the camp, even when we've made a number of changes. And, back in 2019 when we went to Perth, there was 7 changes. There wasn't the 7 changes this one, but we had to make changes, and we thought we could pick a team that might be able to do the job better than what happened in Game 1. So, and I thought all those players that came into the side were outstanding. The couple on debut, especially Matt Burton, and also those that returned to the side like Jake Trbojevic and Angus Crichton, very good for us.
Brandy, I've got nothing negative to ask you this week. After
It's a miracle.
What's happened, Buzz?
It's a miracle.
No, well, you know what? I got to stick my hand up. I was proven wrong. I didn't necessarily agree with the side you picked, but you got it right. I'd like to know, Jack Whiten missed the game with COVID. There's Latrell Mitchell. If you thought that far ahead, 2 great players, but you wouldn't want to change that side too much last night.
No, you wouldn't, Buzz. And no, we really haven't discussed what might happen. We're just got to wait and see what happens. It's a full round of footy, this one, round 16. Everyone's involved. We'll probably have a few injuries out of the game, in particular Payne Haas. Just not sure. He was in a moon boot last night and was struggling to walk properly on that ankle. So, I think Payne would need a pretty quick turnaround to be available, but hopefully he'll get through. He won't play this. I would say he won't play this weekend for the Broncos. But you're right. There's some selection problems arising with players coming back from injury. Ryan Pappenhausen. There's chat that he'll come back to the Melbourne Storm. But it would be very hard to change the side that performed the way they did in Perth.
Brandy, the 5 changes that you did make, it made a lot of headlines and it did cause a lot of conjecture, but why did you believe so much in the re-inclusion of Jake Trbojevic and what he could do for the side?
Jim, well, everyone knows Jake. I don't have to tell anyone what sort of personality and what Jake brings to a team off the field. There's so much passion. And when he came off the field last night after the victory, he was bubbling. He was ready to play again, Jake. He loved it. He said how much he loved it. But apart from what Jake brings off the field, I thought on the field last night he was terrific. Carried the ball for more metres than he does playing in it. And Jake plays that ball distributing lock role for the Seagulls. Last night he stepped up and played front row and did it so well. But it wasn't just his ball carrying. We picked him in the side because his defence. He cuts people in half. He's a great defender, and we just thought we needed that after Game 1.
Brandon, you spoke earlier about not only the changes to the side, but going away and identifying some things that needed to be fixed and addressed in this camp for this game. Can you just sort of shed some light on what you were looking at and what you really needed to fix?
Yeah, look, I just, Kenty, we tried hard. We were desperate in game one, and some of the try-saving efforts in game one certainly kept the scoreline close and kept us in the game. But when we looked at just how the game flowed, and it didn't flow for us in game one. I said, about how hard it was for our halves, and the fact that they were playing off the back foot, standing still, trying to push the ball to edges, and we just weren't aggressive enough in game one. And if you're aggressive, you tend to win the tackle. I thought some of our effort areas, like our kick chase, our kick pressure, at the speed of our defensive line, our work from marker, all those effort areas, it was there, but it wasn't ruthless. It wasn't the sort of effort that you need to win an Origin game. And those things we were pretty confident that we could fix through the week. And I do have to give a rap to our coaching staff. I thought they were outstanding right through the week. Paul McGregor, Danny Badiris, Brad Fittler did a terrific job to get these boys ready for the game. And you can see by the performance, both with and without the ball, that there was a lot of work put in, and the game plan was simple, but it was effective and it was carried out. So big rap to the coaching staff.
How do you think Queensland are going to adjust now between here and game 3?
Or Kenty, I don't know. And to be honest, I really haven't given it that much thought as to what Queensland will do. I heard Billy Slater in the press conference say that, this is our team and these are the players we want. So we've seen in the past, since I've been involved, we've seen the bounce back factor, and it's like when you're dealing with a very good club side that throws in a poor performance, generally they bounce back the following week. And I've got no doubt that Queensland will do that. New South Wales have been able to do that in the past after a poor performance. It just narrows your focus. Your pride's hurt. There is nothing like an Origin loss. It's the lowest of lows. So it's a great motivator. And, Queensland off the back of a big loss will be very difficult to beat up there. There'll be no favours for the Blues, so we'll have to be as good as what we were on Sunday night in Perth to get a win. But as to what Queensland do, I'm not sure.
When Billy said that it's their team and it didn't look like he's going to make too many changes, did that please you or concern you?
Well, I really didn't give that much thought either, and I haven't given it that much thought as to who they could bring into the side to strengthen it. Queensland probably haven't got the depth of players that New South Wales do have. We've always had more players to pick from. Doesn't mean they're better, but I don't know whether Billy looks to make wholesale changes. I wouldn't think they would.
Brandy, Nathan Cleary came in for heavy criticism after the opening game of the series. What did you say to him after last night's result?
I was fortunate enough to present the game ball to Nathan, so he won our player's player. And I did mention, I said, Nathan's been criticised a couple of times now about his Origin performances and always bounced back with a man of the match effort. He did that in 2020 in Game 2. He won the Brad Fittler medal that year. Last night was just a stellar performance from Nathan. It really was. But, the game situation was completely different to one. And you blokes know yourself, if your forwards aren't laying any sort of platform, if you are playing off the back foot, it's almost impossible as a half to make the impact that you want to make. And he took that to heart, Nathan. He shouldered the responsibility of that loss, even though I didn't think it was his to shoulder. He just needed to get the ball on the front foot, and we saw what he could do last night. It was great seeing him score those 2 tries, having a hand in another couple, and it really was a first-class performance from Nat.
It was one of the great Origin performances, Brandy, from Cleary last night. But a player that wasn't too far behind him in his first, Matty Burton. Now, we spoke last week about his kicking game and how you guys are going to utilise that, or if you were going to utilise it in game 2. You certainly did. How was the preparation for that, and how did you think his performance was? Obviously, he was great, but how did you think as coach?
Yeah, no, it was very good, Braith. You know, outstanding and not surprising. You know, like, and even though, you know, Matt was one of the Dally M centres last year, there was a little bit of discussion about, you know, will we feel comfortable going back to the centres after playing 5'8" all year for the Bulldogs and playing a completely different role. But he's got the temperament. He's no nonsense, Matt Burton. He's a quality player, and you know the argument will remain: is he a better centre or is he a better 5'8"? But he certainly filled that hole that Jack Whiten left when Jack was ruled out through COVID. Matt Burton's ability to play in the halves meant that we didn't have to carry a half on the bench just in case there was an injury, which left us a little bit more freedom with our bench. And yeah, Burton was, you know, it's one of the I think one of the outstanding Origin debut performances, and you know we were able to get that kicking game in. He might have put a half a dozen kicks in, Birdo, but 2 were telling, and you know he's got plenty of weapons. We certainly didn't pick him just because he's got that big left foot boot, but he's a class player.
Brandy, thanks for joining us. There are a lot of doubters and sceptics about the selections heading into game 2. A couple on this desk, and it was great to sit back as a New South Welshman and see you deliver last night. Well done, mate.
Good on you, Braith. Thanks, mate.
You're shaking your head,
Thanks,
Ken.
boy.